Welcome to Aqua Dragonlight. Today is August 8th, 2024, and it's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time p.m. while I am filming this. That's the 888 portal, Lionsgate portal. Let's call in the goddess and welcome her with a prayer. I raise my voice in praise of the goddess, remembering the great things she has done. They are worth reciting. She is the one from whose fertile womb everything we see was born. They came out from her ready to be ordered. Not only in the old time did she do this wonder. Is this not a miracle? Is this not worthy of praise? As continually she gives rise to the world, just as continually will I praise her. She it is who puts the prayers in my mouth, and she to whom I speak them. They come from her, arise in me, and return again to her, so that my praying is a part of the eternal cycle. And when I pray, I take the part she has laid out for me. It is her words I pray. She is a lioness protecting her young. You rage when aroused. Nothing stands before you. No troubles can resist you. No enemies defeat you. A roaring in the distance announces your arrival, scattering the dealers of cares. You shake the earth beneath their feet, upsetting all their plans. I send out words in praise of the goddess, from whom all worlds flow. That's from the Book of Pagan Prayer. Be with us today, goddess. Bright spirits, all those of good will are welcome here. This is the Rohrig Tarot. The Rohrig Tarot is a very beautiful, very large tarot deck. So the size of my palm and larger. I have a few tarot decks that are that large. And in order to shuffle these, if they are flexible, you learn the art of corner shuffling. So instead of shuffling the ends, you shuffle the corners. This is the Fool. It's also the design of the deck and the accompanying book. This is a deck from the 90s. It's a surrealist deck. Carl W Rohrig is German. And I'm going to show you just some of these cards. I've had to edit out half a dozen of these cards. Mr. Rohrig was very fond of breasts, and a lot of the cards feature nudity. And I don't really know how that would fly in this venue, but I wanted you to see just some of the wide variety of his artwork, the stunning colors and images that he uses. They are often different from the norm, representing the tarot as there's another breast in that one, huh? I don't know if you saw that. He differs from the norm in how he presents some things. The Chariot, for instance, doesn't have the oppositional colors. It's just a very interesting deck, and I thought you might like to see that. Not everyone gets to see this deck. It's pricey. It's an old deck and rare. It is beautiful to feel. The cards are very flexible. You're looking at the backs. I mean, it's just gorgeous. It's fun to use. There are many handwritten words in the background from his notebooks. And I wanted to use this deck because of the roar in the words in the Leo time frame, where we're having the Lionsgate when we just had the new moon in Leo. This is the Strength card. I wanted to show you that. That did not come out in the reading. I drew the cards ahead of time because I really didn't want to risk drawing something that we might not be able to look at. For instance, I cannot show you all of these 8s. These are the 4 8s. I can't show you all of the 8s because a couple of them have nudity on them, but I wanted you to see the words. So the 8 of Pentacles or discs is prudence, which I think is interesting in this deck. Looking at 8s at this time, looking at these words, swiftness for the 8 of Wands. That's not anything that is particularly unusual to me. That is just the image is, it references people. I can show you that one. Prudence with this great blossoming image. It's a tree, it's growing. That is a different image from the 8 of Pentacles that we normally see, where it's someone doing work at a different level from the 3 of Pentacles. But I think it's a very beautiful image. The next 2 I can't really show you completely, but indolence for the 8 of Cups, and no, someone isn't walking away out to sea here, leaving cups behind them. They're just not making that choice. Indolence. And interference for the 8 of Swords. This card has 2 women fighting over a man. You can see that much of them. Here he's sitting on the bench here, and he's not making a choice, or not looking really at the reality of what's going on here. And again, it's not that they're not showing that he's blind. They're showing that there's interference with his ability to make a choice. Indolence, not really, just not working at it, not trying hard enough, like just not doing how the choice could happen. Swiftness, and prudence. These are all things. So making a prudent choice, making a fast choice, not making a choice, being interfered from making a choice. I found that interesting. And then strength, and Leo, being able to make the choice. That's a rune, and I am sad to say that I am not up on my runes enough to automatically have that at hand. Wholeness. I have my rune book right here. It is the rune Hold for wholeness. My rune book is old and well used, and at one time I used to do a lot of work with runes, and now I'm going to need to go back into it because tonight it's the sun's energy. So there you go. So will you. Wholeness, that which your nature requires, embodies the impulse towards self-realization and indicates the path you must follow, not from ulterior motives, but from the core of your individuality. Seeking after wholeness is the spiritual warrior's quest. And what you are striving to become in actuality is what you by nature already are. You must become conscious of your essence and bring it into form. Express it in a creative way. A rune of great power, making life force available to you, so you marks a time for regeneration right down to the cellular level. It has no reversed position. It does advise caution if you feel you're in a pressing situation, or if things are demanding that you expend energy now. And if you have to retreat in strength. It's a voyage inward for centering and for balance. And timely retreat is among the skills of the spiritual warrior. I just happened to have that book within reach, and I'm glad that I did. I'm not even going to go into the Hebrew. However, well, that's enough of a diversion or an introduction to the moment for today. And we ended the new moon phase this morning. The moon has still been in Libra, but it's moving into Scorpio. And Scorpio is the 8th sign, which is interesting. And this 888 day of August 8th and 2024 adds up to 8, and the moon is entering the 8th sign, and that Scorpio, and my little visual aid here. So we have Aries, Taurus, Pisces, and Cancer and Leo and Virgo and Libra, and here we are with Scorpio here as we're going around the wheel this way. Looking at it that way, it puts the 8th house up there if you're doing natural houses, and starting with Aries over, as I did in my last video, starting with Aries over here in natural houses. The 8th house is up there, and currently the moon is entering Scorpio, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and that's the deep, that's 2 layers of the deep transcendent transformation, alchemy, change, sex and physical intimacy, and it's an occult and secretive area. But Pluto, and well, the ancient ruler is Mars, so that's action. But Pluto is also death and afterlife and reproductive and rebirths and renewals and what's the word I'm looking for? Reinvention. You get to decide who you are again, ruler of the underworld, all that stuff. In shadow, it can be destructive, it can be fearful, it can be overly pessimistic. In light, it's a capacity for growth through pruning, and it's growth-minded, and it's completion focused and transformation driven. And so it's a give and take, but this is a pivotal point. So this 8-8 portal is a pivotal point, and I liked the fact that Rohrig, I think with the roar, refers to Leo and refers to brings that power to this 8-8-8 moment. And so I drew some cards, and I'm going to set this aside, put that down with my other cards so I don't lose it. And I've covered them so that I could just do this swiftly. The first card that I drew is the completion card in this deck. It's the 4 of Wands, and the 4 of Wands came up recently in another one of my videos. And Rohrig, the 4 of Wands. Oh, I was going to show you the book. This book of his deck is as beautiful as the deck itself, and very detailed in what he sees the cards as. It's a very detailed, there's a lot of words, a lot that I am not going to read out to you on each card, but enough so that you get an idea. This is completion card for him, is about solidifying success. So you have these, I love these 4 wands, these like pillars of crystal inside a sphere. For this particular point in our, right now in this reading, this particular point in time, the 888 thing, the portal theme, the back of the deck is like looking into a portal, and you have these wands inside a disc that reminds us of a planet in a way. So the center of things. And that came out as the first card. And so for me, sort of where we are, perhaps, or starting the day with the moon in Libra, I found that interesting. There's a balance by the 4. The 4 in lots of tarot decks has more to do with a celebration. You see it with the garland draped, the castle in the background and the garlands, and it's got the feeling of things are going well. The work is done, it's a completion. If you see, depending on the cards it's with, it can be a good time for a party with friends or a wedding or different things, but it's a card of a happy centered time where preparations have been made and the work is kind of done. And I like the fact that it's inside a planet here, but yet floating, and yet a portal, and still, that has that, it's half of 8, the 8 is a symbol of infinity, and it's the Ouroboros, snake eating his tail kind of thing, and it's a very mystic number, 8. It is nearly 2. It's close to the, 10 is completion, 9 is almost everything, but 8 has that balance of things are ready, but and you still have choices to make. It's an interesting number. I really like the number 8. I guess I sound like Sesame Street. Anyway, moving on. I was surprised by drawing number 7, going from this crystal and center portal. We are now at the number 7 of swords, and the word is futility. It's got words in the background, and a man down here facing an enormous snake. And then, the Ouroboros snake comes to mind again. And so it's kind of appropriate that it show up in a reading involving 8 and 8s. But the 7 of swords has a bad rep, and in tarot in general, it's not a card that people particularly have fond things to say about when they read tarot, because it has a feeling. The 7 of swords comes sort of with a feeling of you're disarming an enemy, or you're disarming a situation, but you're not necessarily doing it honorably or honestly. Maybe you perhaps have seen a tarot deck where the man is running away holding swords from a city or tents behind him, and there, along with the feeling of manipulation or taking things perhaps without the proper procedure, I find that there's also a message there of disarming a situation that might be harmful to you before it becomes harmful. So a proactive tactic, as it were. 7 of swords. And the 8 of swords, as I showed you, the 8 of swords is the one that is a sense of blindness, not being able to look forward, but in this case he calls it interference. So this is the position of facing or knowing that you have to make a choice. How do you disarm this enemy? Do you do it fairly or not? And in the looking in the reference of the portal moment here and the 8th house and the depths, and going in and looking at the choices that you can make. How do you evolve? How do you move forward? What can you choose right now? What intentions can you set? What affirmations can you make that will make your life move forward, that will allow you to believe that you have set things in motion that are going to be helpful to you in the future? So you have this sense of there a foundation work, and there's a stability inside, faced with an exterior not so sure about this, or actual threat. And this, for me, message on this day of making affirmations and choices and decisions on the Lion's Gate 888 portal, while the moon has moved from Libra into Scorpio, you need to look at that. You need to look at, where do you want to make change? Where is the feeling of where is the fight? Where is the battle you must face? Where are you facing manipulation, or where have you been in perhaps allowing yourself to not be acting in your own best interests? And I thought that was interesting. These two things to balance and look at when you're making your plans or your thoughts about what you want to change. And the third card that I pulled was the World. And I love tarot. I love the cards, and I love it when they do things like this to me. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And the World card in that position of, okay, so if you take a good look at what you got, your foundation, what is at your core, what is going on here, while this portal is opening, you get to make some statements and make some decisions and move forward and with your intentions. And you face these things, what then where will that take you? What can you hope for? And I just think that breaking the chains here, don't look too closely at that image. Guess I'll have to set my stars over her. Like, he loves breasts. I know, you can go back now. I'm not going to retape it. I think that one's not as bold, and I mean some of them are very, very prominent. So we'll leave that. Anyway, just making the fact that you by looking at these things and balancing them and then setting, you have an access to the end of a journey, the beginning of a new journey. And really, that's what the world represents. The world card in the tarot deck means the Fool has made the journey all the way through one time. And the Fool is always making a journey. The Fool is always ending a journey and beginning a journey. It's not like the Fool stops. We all stop at some point from this incarnation. We all, one day, 1 minute, 1 second, one last breath, we all have one of those. We know when we're of an age to know much of anything that, there is an ending to people in this world, but not in the Fool's journey. And so what this means is it's validating that this particular portal is giving another new start. And so balancing these things and looking in at what you have, what you want to keep, what you want to change, and then making those statements and sending them out into the universe is it's a validation that this moment is real. It's a very powerful moment. This is something that you can believe in. You can go through this process and say, I'm doing this because it's a real process. It's got validity. It's got truth. And then I because of the way I drew the card, so because I wanted to honor the eights, I didn't just do a cut the deck and deal and then have a bottom of the deck thing to show you. I actually cut the deck, and then I counted down for the 8 for the first card, and then I counted down 8 more for the second card. I counted down 8 more for the third card. So that left me with a bottom of the batch that I was holding at that point, which could be thought of as the bottom of the deck. And then there was another bottom of the deck card. So I'll give you a visual aid here. This is a lot of words, but so I'll just set this here. And okay, so if I counted down 8 and I set those, I took that card, okay? And then I counted down 8 more and I took that card and put one down. I counted down 8 more and I took that card and set it down. Well, underneath this batch is one card that could be the bottom of the deck. Underneath this batch is another card that could be the bottom of the deck. And then from that, I counted back, that one now is blurry. I guess I should think about time, probably. I counted back 8 for one more. To balance 3 here, I would have 3 on the bottom of the deck. So we have, this was the first bottom of the deck card that I saw coming from Luxury. It's actually the 4 of Cups. So the 1 cup and the 3 cups are actually represented here in an unusual, exactly like, this is similar. It's got the pillars, but very realistic, like other decks. The 4 goblets that are commonly seen in a 4 of Cups are represented here. So the 4 of Cups, I'm making sure you don't overlook the cup that is being offered to you from the universe. It's that I found that we're coming from that place of not perhaps being aware of all of the options the universe is offering us. I'll set that up so that it doesn't shimmer quite so much from my light there. I thought that was interesting because it's another 4. So we had a 4 and a 4, and on the 8 theme of the day here for one of the bottom of the deck cards. And bottom of the deck cards for me are backstory. In fact, one of these days I'll do a reading where we just read backstory as if it was a sequence of events, as if it was a story. Where did we come from? These, however, are not one behind the other. This was underneath the cards that I drew from. I'm going to set them over here. The next one underneath the cards that were sitting on the table was the Magician, and that is stunningly accurate for coming after the world as the Magician. You have the power. You have the power. And that was followed by the Ace of Discs. This one is the one I counted back 8 from that one. I counted back 8 from this one. I got another 1, the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of things that you have control over. So Swords is thinking, and Cups is emotions, and Wands is work, things you could do with your hands. But Pentacles and Discs, they're everything else. They are your health, and they are even your mental health if it is something that you can control. Your possessions, your life, your car, all that stuff. it is the things you actually can do something about tangibly. And I thought that was another really awesome follow-on to the actual theme of the day. I like the fact that he's standing above an orb there that almost looks like a portal. There's a portal here, there's a portal there. Here a portal, there a portal, everywhere a portal, portal. Strength. 8. 888, Lionsgate portal, August 8th, 2024. Make your affirmations, set your intentions, make your choices, and move forward with what you want in your life to be different, what you want to draw toward you, the things you want to improve or evolve. I'm going to see if I can light this one more time. There you go. We're going to thank the Mother. I thank you. I have had a really good time with the Rohrig Tarot. I hope that you have enjoyed it as well. And stop back another time to see what I'm doing at Aqua Dragonlight. Mother, Universal Mother, guides, guardians, bright ones of all kinds, thank you for being with us. Hold us in your beautiful star-filled arms. Guide us to better choices in higher places within ourselves. Take us up to the stars within ourselves. Hold us there in the highest level of our thoughts so that we can be the best that we can be in this incarnation. Blessings to all. May you be strong. May you be well.